Begin by introducing our panelists for the discussion. At this stage, it is my honor to formally introduce Shri Debajyoti Ray Chaudhuri, Managing Director and CEO, National E-Governance Services Limited. Shri Debajyoti Ray Chaudhuri is a seasoned leader known for strengthening institutions that power India's financial ecosystem. As the MD and CEO of National E-Governance Services Limited, he has built trusted, paperless digital platforms supporting the insolvency and bankruptcy code, banks, NBFCs, and regulators. Under his leadership, initiatives like digital documentation and e-bank guarantees have made financial processes more transparent, efficient, and accessible. I would request everyone to please put your hands together for him as we welcome him on the stage. Joining him on the panel is Mr. Anuj Gupta, Managing Director, India, BowerGroupAsia. Mr. Anuj Gupta is a public policy and strategy professional working at the intersection of government, business, and global advisory. As the Managing Director, India at BowerGroupAsia, he helps leaders navigate India's regulatory landscape and align strategy with national development priorities. He previously served in senior roles with the Government of India, including Chief of Staff, OSD, to Minister Piyush Goyal, contributing to union budget coordination with key policy reforms. With leadership stints at the Tata Group and as advisor to the Government of Abu Dhabi, his journey reflects purpose-driven nation building. Let us all welcome him with a huge round of applause, everyone. We are delighted to have you here with us, sir, today. And now, welcoming our third panelist, Mr. Sunil Pant, Independent Director, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. Mr. Sunil Pant is a corporate governance and financial systems expert with deep experience across India's regulatory and banking ecosystem. He currently serves as an independent director under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India, and is a council member with global consultancy organizations. A practicing advocate with the Bar Council of Delhi, he previously served as CEO of IIIPI ICAI, strengthening India's insolvency professional ecosystem under the IBC framework. He has also held senior leadership roles at SBI, including Chief General Manager, Financial Control at the Corporate Center. Let us all extend a huge round of applause and welcome him on the stage. It's an honor to have all of our panelists and our moderator for this panel discussion on the big shift, is India entering its global economic era? We also have Mr. Sudhir Sharma, Pramod Gupta, and Samiran Das from the National E-Governance joining us as our guests today. Thank you for joining us. And now I would request our moderator, Sikta Dio ma'am, to please take over.
Thank you so much. And namaskar again and welcome to this special discussion. The big shift. Is India entering its global economic era? Well, the world economy is being reshaped by rising tariffs, shifting supply chains, technology races and geopolitical competition. We all know that, it's all there in the news. But at the same time, India is emerging as one of the fastest growing major economies, positioning itself as a manufacturing hub, a digital powerhouse and a global talent engine. But what does this moment really mean for India? Is India at a historic turning point? Will growth translate into jobs for young India? And how will global trade tensions shape India's future? Well, these are the relevant questions which we are going to look at this 1 hour, and we'll explore these questions with our distinguished panelists, and warm welcome to all of you. Let me start with you, Mr. Gupta. Looking back at 10 years, last 10 years specifically, which one reform really changed the game for India's economy? Something that made the world take India more seriously and like, wow, this is happening in India.
So I've worked in Government of India for a decade, and I've seen a number of reforms being put out and a number of reforms which have been designed but have not taken off or even failed. I think to answer this question, you have to first ask, what is the role of government? What is it supposed to do? Is it supposed to run hotels? Is it supposed to run airlines? Or is it supposed to answer the fundamental question of law and order, for example? Today, if I may ask somebody in the audience, some of us are scared of going to a police station. Some of us are very scared of going to the courts. So that is the fundamental role of government which nobody else can replace. Similarly, health and education are critical for our development. And if I look back over the 10 years, I think the most fundamental reform which the government has embarked upon is the national education policy. And it is not just a policy, it is delivering results as we see today. Just to take an example, there is an independent body called ASAR, which, as the name says, looks at the impact on educational outcomes of policies. Because of new education policy, the learning outcomes in mathematics and reading are at a multi-decadal high. The teacher attendance in schools, and these are, mind you, government schools which need the most amount of support. Teacher attendance is now 88% in government schools. The number of toilets available for the girl child have doubled in schools. As many of you know, many girls don't go to schools because there are no toilets in the schools. So I think it is a fundamental reform whose output we are beginning to see, and it will totally transform the next generation and make sure that the demographic dividend of India is not a disaster. I would say that's the best reform government of India has taken.
Well, a national education policy, when your foundation is so strong, obviously, world is watching and India has arrived. Mr. Pant, the world economy, if compared to India, feels most uncertain right now. There are tariffs, there are trade issues, tensions, supply chain shifts. How has India grown fast and managed to keep herself safe and stable?
See, you can hear me? Great. I think, if you look at the risk index that is brought out by the World Economic Forum, you will find that the nature of risks that we are facing around us globally has changed remarkably. In fact, we are today standing at a precipice where there are all kinds of risks. You have risks in terms of trade, you have risks in terms of geopolitics, you have risks in terms of geoeconomics, strategy, how people are integrating, how people are moving, movement of people, humans across borders. I think with the kind of changes that are taking place and impacted also by the technological changes that have come in, the kind of spread that is happening and the kind of information and disinformation that is growing along with that. This is a time of extreme turbulence, and within that, how is India being able to maintain a stable stance? In fact, I'd just like to say 2 or 3 issues need to be highlighted to be able to establish that India has done something which is remarkable. And this is therefore, when we talk about the golden era starting, I think that is the foundation of that golden era. The first is in terms of being able to integrate a completely broken up, scattered market that was there and bring it under one area, one umbrella of GST. I think GST itself has been a tremendous contributor to where India stands today. The second thing is in terms of digital infrastructure that has been created. Today, many of you may be aware, UPI somehow covers, in some ways or the other, covers something like 228 billion transactions in a year. I mean, that's the figure for last year, which is remarkable. It's the entire globe on one side and India on the other. So I think that is something that we have to respect. We may not acknowledge it in the first instance, but it's something that once we know, it's something which needs to be considered. And then if you look at it in terms of how we have been able to withstand shocks, see, the mark of a mature economy is not its ability to maintain inflows. It is the ability to withstand the outflows that take place. In the last 2 years, India lost something like $30 billion worth of investments. Any other country would have been shaken by this. Just for your information, $30 billion is more than the GDP of 75 to 80 countries. So you have lost that in 2 years, and even though it did shake you up a little bit, of course, I mean, I'll not deny that, in terms of maybe the exchange rates that are there, but if you think about it, we've been able to get through with it, and largely because there is something like a 15,000 crore rupee inflow by way of SIPs only, coming in from the, shall we say, the most unacknowledged segment of the capital market contributors in India. And they have been able to hold up the capital markets in India, and they've been able to do it when maybe any other country in the world would have been slightly worried, more than slightly worried. So I think that is something that we really need to look at as the foundational basis for the golden era that we are talking about in this particular topic on discussion. So what I would like to say is, there have been storms and there will be storms. The way things are going, it's not likely that there would be settling down of the churn that is taking place globally. But it is definitely a fact that India, with its resilience, has been able to manage all this. And the other factor that we also need to consider is that the initiatives that have been taken by India, even if you look at a recent initiative like the PLI, with just about 1.9 lakh crores invested, we've been able to generate something like 12 lakh jobs. We've been able to generate something like 16 lakh crores of fresh output and production. So I think, there are steps that are being taken, there are measures that are being taken which are yielding result. And that again is a pointer to the fact that India knows where it is going, how it is going. And lastly, I'd like to say, look at the GDP to, or rather the debt to GDP ratio. While most countries that have grown with a horrendous ratio. Look at China, around 300% plus GDP, debt to GDP ratio. Look at Japan, 250% plus and growing. Look at the US, about 130%. Where is India? If you take just the central government debt, that's about 58%. If you add on all other debts that are there, which are quasi, let us say, government also in nature, that works out about 85%. There's scope to grow, and the intention is to bring the central government debt down to 50% by 2013. So I think again, it's a factor that we need to recognize, we need to consider that despite all the Cassandras of doom, all around us and pointing out to all the failures that we have, there are also good things that we have to look at. And I think the confidence is very important. India has gone through golden ages in the past. India has a golden age coming up. It's not a guarantee that will happen. But we are well set to move in that direction. But if we miss this bus, then I don't think the future generations are going to spare us. Thank you.
So we know what we are doing and we are doing it right, and that's our foundation. Mr. Ray Chaudhuri, when we look at economic survey data and all the data around us, what gives you the real confidence that India's growth story will last?
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to be here in this hall with all these young minds all around. But, I'd just like to respond to each of the earlier panelists' questions. You asked for the biggest reform. I said, I have to say there are two extremely big reforms, and we need to acknowledge it. The first was GST. Mr. Pant briefly mentioned about it. GST was enormous because India is the most populous country in the world, and today we need to play to our strengths. So if we don't have an integrated market, we don't develop that. We don't capitalize that. So GST did that. But it's not just about simplification of taxes. It is about improving logistics costs. And if you want, I can elaborate later. I'll just leave it at that. Two very unintended benefits of GST. Reduction of logistics costs. And second, improvement in bank credit. I can elaborate later if you are curious. But it has helped. And why logistics cost is important? India has to be globally competitive.
Right.
And for that, there are two aspects where we are not competitive right now. One is a logistics cost, two is a cost of borrowing. An MSME, he's not able to compete globally because his India's logistics costs are high, and two, the cost of credit is high. And GST addresses both these two things. The second big reform is the IBC. Now, IBC typically is known as to recover bad debt. It is not. If I tell you the IBC or the insolvency and bankruptcy credit is about entrepreneurship, and it's extremely important for this hall of young people. You should not look for just employment. You should look for entrepreneurship, and IBC drives that. If you want me to elaborate, I can do it later.
Yes.
But IBC drives entrepreneurship. And secondly, IBC also drives the flow of credit. It helps, and I can elaborate later. Now, second part of the one Mr. Pant addressed was about that how India is able to insulate itself. As rightly said, India is one of the fastest growing major economies. Now, a lot of study has been done on this. And I'll quote this book. And there's a book called Why Nations Fail. North Korea, South Korea. South Korea is virtually a developed country. North Korea is the virtual opposite. Why nations fail? And there's this book called Acemoglu and Robinson. They exemplify that a key differentiator among nations is the quality of institutions. Every inquiry into the causes of wealth has reinforced that institutions do matter. So what makes nations great? It is the quality of institutions. And Mr. Pant mentioned about how we are able to effectively manage the huge outflow. 30 billion is a figure which he took. How we are able to manage this huge outflow? I'll give you another instance. In 2008, I was in Dubai. I was heading SBI's Dubai operations. There was a global financial crisis. Lehman Brothers, if some of you might recall. In all the environment of turmoil, India stood rock steady. What was the difference? The quality of institutions. The Reserve Bank of India. Even today, as we said about managing forex outflows, how we managed, it is against the Reserve Bank of India.
Right.
Mr. Pant talked up also about SIPs coming into it. How that has happened? How the retail trust has been reinforced? The quality of institutions. And that is where SEBI has come. SEBI has taken a landmark reforms, two big reforms both these institutions have taken. RBI has collated all possible regulations together so that a person is able to refer all of them together. Similarly, SEBI has taken many initiatives so that investor interested is protected. So what does this exemplify? That our institutions have come of age. And that gives me the confidence that India's age has come. Did we say the word golden era? So very interestingly, in our days, I mean, you are still a young generation, but in our days, we used to hear of something, in the good old days, India ek sone ki chidiya thi. But you tell me frankly, how many of you know that India at one point was the largest economy in the world? Today we are aspiring to we are the fourth largest, we are aspiring to be the third, but history tells us we were the largest economy. So it's not that it's impossible. So it is well within us. We have, the groundwork to it. We have taken major reforms. And I'm sorry, now I'll come to the question
Yes.
which was asked for me.
No problem.
What was that?
What makes you believe that the India growth story has arrived? Because we see all the data around, and you have put that across in your answers that we have arrived. We were always there. Now we are getting back at where we were.
And just one part,
yeah.
one more part to it.
Yeah.
One, of course, why I believe we arrived is that a quality of institutions has arrived. And the second part is the digital public infrastructure. And now I recall, I think you may not also recall, but you asked me the question, what did I find interesting in the economic survey? So I'll tell you what is interesting. Of all the countries, and the economic survey identified around 10 countries, I'm not sure, the US was not there. Of all the countries, which country has made the maximum investment in digital innovation? Would you believe it? That is India. And would you also believe that India has the best digital public infrastructure in the world? And somebody
And
talked
how
about
has that
UPI
helped
payments.
the small businesses and the Indian economy? We'll get into the details in the next round of questions, Mr. Ray Chaudhuri. So the global trade map is changing. We all know that. We have been discussing that. Countries are protecting their own industries and supply chains are moving. So where does India fit in, and how does our target of Viksit Bharat 2047 fit in? Mr. Gupta, the India-EU deal with the European Union is being called the Golden Standard Agreement. How was India able to pull this off? What changed that we have this in place?
I think we should start by understanding what was happening pre-2014, where India was in terms of its trade position. I've been part of meetings, trade negotiations with Switzerland, for example, way back. You will not believe me, but Switzerland, for example, refused to discuss trade with India because they had such a bad experience negotiating with India, India going back on its word, India not having clarity on what it wants. So from that position, we have come to a stage where nations are seeking India, seeking a deal with India. And the reason for that is, in my mind, very clear. For the first time, India is clear about what it wants and what it can give. So, for example, traditionally, Indian trade negotiators have tried to negotiate on a certain issue, but then have caved in dramatically on that. So, there was a agriculture related trade negotiation in the early 90s, for example. This was around the time when World Trade Organization was being set up, and India was trying to protect its agriculture. As you know, farmers are nearly 40% of our workforce, and believe you me, the negotiations went downhill, and today Indian farmer can only get 0.3% of the support an American farmer gets. That is the difference in the negotiation skills and the power India had. Today, India negotiates from a belief in its people, a belief that 140 crore people are together representing India, and India negotiates as an equal. For example, in this particular agreement with Europe, apart from trade in goods and services, there is also a large chapter on mobility. So for all the young people over here, Now there are more options available.
Yeah, that's what my question was.
Yeah.
How do you make these people understand, the young India understand, because most of them might not be the commerce or the economy students. So what does this deal mean for this young India when we are talking about it?
I think the biggest difference is, as I was saying, you have more options to study, more options to work, more options to gain international exposure. So Europe has, for example, opened its doors for people from India. In fact, the deal is, I would say, so favorable towards India that the American trade minister, he's called US Trade Representative, came out and commented that the deal is more favorable towards India than EU. For all of you, there are more options available. It also means that Indian exports have a very large market available. Many of you, when you buy products in the market, you would interestingly see a label by stating export quality. How many people over here have seen a label called export quality? If you can raise your hands. Yeah, I think a few of you have seen. What does it mean? When you say export quality, it implies that the Indian quality is inferior to export quality. Now, with the deal with Europe, you will make sure that for the first time, Indian quality will be equivalent to global quality, because the quality required to export to Europe is very high standard. It requires high labor standards, high quality standards, high environment standards. And once you are able to export to Europe, then a lot of other markets like Japan, like US open up, because they demand equal levels of quality. So we will see very high quality manufacturing coming to India. So very, very lucrative jobs for all of you, and a number of things on the services side also. So for example, some of you are content creators, some of you are working in the, or will aspire to work in the technology space or in the green energy space. The services agreement with Europe opens up doors for these. So it's a very favorable deal to India, a lot of opportunities. Now it's up to you to walk through the door and utilize those opportunities.
Wow, that's the EU deal simplified for all of you. Mr. Pant, do big trade deals like this really help a made in India become a global brand? He's saying it will help and it is helping, and or we still have a long way to go.
There are two or three things that we have to, sorry. There are 2 or 3 things we have to consider. Just because we have signed a deal doesn't mean that we are going to benefit from it. We have to create the conditions which enable the other party also to be able to draw benefits from us. And it's a trade-off between benefits that you are getting. So we have to look at quality as a very important measure of how far we will be able to proceed. And quality is not just in terms of product quality, but it's also in terms of service quality. Some areas where India has been lacking, and that is an area when I talk to people from overseas businesses, they seem to find a little bit of a wrinkle out there. But I think now that we have started looking at this, and with the new generation of people who are more aware of the kind of quality and the expectations that the people in other territories may have, I think this is going to even out very soon. So I am optimistic on that score, but the fact does remain that we have to improve our quality, we have to improve our deliverability, if I may use that word, and we have to ensure that we meet the standards that those people are used to. In fact, Mr. Gupta mentioned about the kind of standards that are required for a product to be acceptable in a European country, where there are very stringent standards in terms of your environmental features, in terms of your contamination norms and so on. Some of you may remember that there was a time when the export of prawns from India was banned in Japan because they found that there was a level of mercury poisoning that they expected or felt was there. Therefore, there was that contamination, and therefore the entire export of prawns from India to Japan was stopped. So we have these kind of very stringent requirements, and that is one factor. But the other factor also is that India is a huge contributor of manpower. If you look at India in terms of its demographics only, the median age in India is about 28 years. And a substantial population, more than 60% of the population is below 30. So you have something like, a huge number of people who are there who have the capacity to contribute. It's another matter where we talk about their capability in terms of contribution, for which the government is also setting up the support systems that will help encourage capacity building in terms of skilling, reskilling, upskilling, whatever you have. One of the initiatives is that Atal tinkering scheme that they have, which sounded very funny when I first saw it, but which I think makes a lot of sense because, it releases a lot of opportunity for young people to be able to play around with the new technologies, to be able to understand how best they can make use of those. So I think, this is something that is very important. Government institutions, schools, colleges to be opened up to, let us say, telecommunication. I think that is something which is remarkable. So I think broadband exposure to all these people, I think that is going to help. But what remains essential and fundamental is the attitude. The ability has to be matched by aptitude and attitude to be able to deliver. And that is something we have to start enforcing. We have to see that our young people accept the fact that there has to be a quality in the delivery and that there has to be an attitude which helps in that particular promulgation. So until we have that, we will have only paper FTAs. We've had FTAs in the past also. PTAs, FTAs, and all that, preferential trade agreements, free trade agreements. We have had localized trade agreements, bilateral agreements. We've had a lot of those. But it's not really worked out too well. This is one time when we have gone at it very aggressively, and I think with a clearer focus on what we need to do to be able to deliver better. If we do that, then, as they say, the world is your oyster. There's a huge opportunity waiting for you all over in terms of demographics, in terms of capabilities, in terms of your ability. So please do that, make use of it. Thanks.
Make use of it. And now, Mr. Ray Chaudhuri, getting into the specifics, and you are an expert on that. How can technology and digital systems help small Indian businesses go global or sell to the world? And some of them might start those small Indian businesses. So how can they utilize this technology and digital systems?
Sure, thanks. But before that, I'd like to comment on these trade deals.
Yeah.
Now, whenever these trade negotiations happen, there's always the debate about protecting agriculture. Have we ever thought that why do we need to protect agriculture? Why are we not globally competitive in agriculture? And is there an opportunity for us? The reason is simple. Why agriculture is not competitive? Because farmers are subject to vagaries of the weather. Farmers don't get competitive prices for the produce. Inputs they are not able to get. Now I'll just give you a simple example. Sometimes we hear of there's some onion production in bulk and the farmer has to do distress sale. Suppose a farmer does a forward sale of all his purchases at fixed price. Is it possible? So today in a digital world it's possible. And this, for all you youngsters, I'm leaving an idea for you. Why can't you offer an app for a farmer in which he can do either 3 apps or one single app? What are the 3 factors which can affect farming? 1, weather. 2, market. 3, inputs. All 3, through technology, you can have a fair bit of certainty. And through an app, and the beauty of it is that with today broadband and mobile available to remote parts of the country, so all this is feasible. Now, if you think it sounds difficult, there's enough inspiration around. And I'll give you the story of Lenskart. Lenskart is a unique business model. Did someone ever thought that you could actually, have eyewear through the digital mode online? Nobody thought. And that's what makes a success of a product. You have to identify a need and you have to see how you can fulfill that need. What was the need which Lenskart felt? Lenskart did that analysis. They found that almost one-fourth of the Indian population required eye correction, but they did not have access to quality eye care. And that's how Lenskart came up with this huge opportunity, and you saw that how big this Lenskart was a success. The recent results have also come as a very stupendous set of results. But that's the scale of the opportunity. That opportunity comes if you can seize that gap in the market. And that gap has been addressed, and this is an opportunity I am giving to you. Because today there's a market for commodities. And can that market be developed for agricultural commodities? Today weather data is fairly predictable. So can you offer all this data in an app? So our Indian farmers can be as competitive as the rest of the world. And second part, I'm sorry, I again lost sight of the question. Before me.
What I asked was, how can the small businesses
Yes.
utilize the technology and the digital system to
Exactly.
set up and also sell globally?
Yeah. So, I think all of us heard of Nandan Nilekani? Yes, everyone has heard of it.
Maybe this generation hasn't. No.
Yeah, he's the founder of Infosys and also the founder of Aadhaar. He was the person behind Aadhaar. Now, Nandan Nilekani made an interesting statement called population scale. So he said that, look, I have already built this digital infrastructure for you. And I'm not sure if I've stated this before, but India's digital public infrastructure is the best in the world. What is a digital public infrastructure? It components, the basic foundation is three things, and we call this JAM. Jandan Mobile App. Jandan Aadhaar Mobile. So this is the foundation of our digital infrastructure. And on this base, you can build many products. Like, for example, you have DigiYatra, and if you have used DigiYatra, or if you have used DigiLocker, so this is the foundation. And any enterprise which you have to build on top of this, so then you can get a competitive advantage. So MSMEs, why are MSMEs important? First of all, let me just dwell on that. And the economic survey finds a reference to that. Almost 30% of India's GDP comes from MSMEs. Almost 40% of the employment comes from MSMEs. And similarly, around 40% of our India's exports comes from MSMEs. That's why MSMEs are important. And MSMEs, today, the advantage for MSMEs is that they have most of the ingredients for success. They have a market, but that market you can capture only if you build your products on the DPI. For example, Lenskart. Lenskart was also an MSME.
Right.
I mean, it is a startup.
Right.
It's not even an MSME. So what did they do? They built their product on DPI. Their product is on the app, which anybody can access through the mobile. And that's how they are huge success. And about MSMEs, one more thing, let me tell you that what is India's biggest strengths? One is digital public infrastructure. Second is the population. India's population is 1.4 billion. But India is not the largest consumer market. The largest consumer market is the United States of America. So that is the kind of potential that we have.
Right.
That we can be the largest market. And today with our digital public infrastructure, we can capture this entire market if you build a product based on the DPI. And the other advantage for MSMEs today is that there are two ingredients for success.
Right.
One is capital two is skills.
Right.
And I can assure you that today there's enough capital in the market. When we grew up, what was required for entrepreneurship is your parentage,
Right.
because capital was scarce. But today, you only need an idea. If you have an idea, I think many of us would have watched Shark Tank. But apart from Shark Tank, there's enough of capital which is actually looking for good ideas. So you have capital and you need skills.
So capital and technology is a right combination which will help everybody navigate. Taking this forward, Mr. Gupta, like what Mr. Ray Chaudhuri said, that the digital technology is in place for us and it is helping India's economy. I want to bring in the digital governance, you know. How has that made it easier for today's entrepreneur to start, run and grow a business in India?
I think, again, if I were to look at pre-2014 and post, today, before 2014, if you were to start a company, it would have been a very cumbersome process to apply, visit the registration office, run around for getting your trademark approved, brand name approved, etc. From that, we have come to a stage wherein in couple of minutes you can register your company, you can get your trademark, brand name, etc. Very quickly. It has been a focused effort wherein we first crunched the time to start a company to less than a day, and now it's a question of couple of minutes. The reason for that is the digital infrastructure which we have created. And I would like to say, although we claim that our digital infrastructure is the best in the world, but there are other countries we must always look at and learn from. To give an example, Estonia, a small country in Europe, their digital infrastructure is such that people can even vote online. We are not even close to that. So there are a lot of miles to go before our digital infrastructure reaches that level.
Yes.
Payments, for example, we do through a QR code. That's a similar process in a number of other countries which have adopted. If you look at China, for example, there is data, there is social credit score available for every citizen, which is used to give you facilities, access, credit, etc. So we should not sit on our laurels and only say we are the best in the world. There's much to learn from other countries. We must keep on striving to improve. But there is no denial. If I look at, I think many of you have just started earning, or maybe part-time you are earning. A lot of our youngsters, for example, are able to open a Demat account within a couple of minutes by using eKYC, your Aadhaar. And I see a lot of youngsters, for example, accessing equity markets, stock markets, even crypto, for example. So even the pattern of savings you are accessing is changing because of our digital infra. And now you have a lot of financial influencers whose videos you probably watch on YouTube and are inspired by on where to invest, how to save, etc. This is all part of, for example, the massive reduction in data cost in India, which is now the lowest in the world. So the benefits are all around us, and it's a question of we should not, just look at that infra and be satisfied by it. We should look at engaging with it and improving ourselves with it. Like, for example, if you look at the theme of the today's session, has the golden age of India arrived? Yes, it is arriving. It has not arrived, but it will not arrive for everybody just like that. You have to strive to be part of it. You have to create a golden era around you. And a lot of that comes from, this intention to serve the country and the society around us. So keep yourself, of course, in the center, but look around you. Speak to, for example, the delivery man who gets you quick commerce goods, gets you from Zepto, whatever you require. Speak to the security guard around you, the gardener. Speak to the vendor on the street. Be grounded in whatever you do. And when you speak to them, you can also showcase the benefits of digital infra to them.
Right.
How can they do their savings in the bank? How can they access new age avenues for saving, investing? Utilize the skills, utilize the infra we have, and give it to others also, so that they can also take benefits from it.
Yeah, I have been signaled that the house will be open for the questions here. So, one last round of questions to all of you. We spoke about MSMEs. We keep our answers short. It will really help to take all the questions. Mr. Pant, every budget promises a lot for MSMEs. Have things really changed for MSMEs, because a lot of young India is getting into that or will be getting into that. So, what has changed right now for MSMEs? We talk about it whenever the budget is introduced in the parliament, but on ground things are changing for MSMEs?
Yes. All right, this is one of the things that you must remember. That when you are trying to convey some idea, you should be able to actually
Loud and
have
clear.
a line of communication
Yes.
available to you. So in this particular case about MSMEs, the idea about MSMEs is it's a very vital sector of the population. It is something that has been addressed, and it is something that we are looking at as a growth area, and therefore it is receiving priority and it is receiving the kind of focus that was possibly initially slightly distributed. Earlier we used to have SSIs and we used to have a fragmented kind of an arrangement in MSMEs. Today it's become more consolidated and we are looking at it in that respect. The second thing is that we are looking at providing support. Now support, as was mentioned by Mr. Debajyoti, is largely in terms of either the ability to do something or in terms of the finance to do something. So today there is a much easier availability of finance. The government has got a variety of schemes that it has implemented and they seem to be working. That is a very important thing. It may be too early to definitely say that they have worked, because it's still a short term that we've been looking at, but it seems to be working. It is providing impetus, and as I mentioned in one of my statements earlier, if you look at the PLI, for instance,
Right.
which also addresses the MSME segment to a great extent, there has been a significant multiplier that comes in with an assistance. Just a production linked incentive of 1.9 lakh crores, you have an incremental production of 16.5 lakh crores. So I think that is itself a pointer to the success that we are looking at in terms of MSMEs. The multiplier, of course, has been the technology that is available. But a word of caution out here. As the US President Coolidge said, technology has the capacity to give you a lot, but it also has the capacity to take back everything it has given you. So you have to be very careful when you are dealing with technology. It's a double-edged sword, and you should ensure that you take all the precautions that are necessary before you actually input technology into your design.
Yes.
So I think that's something that I'd like to say. And
Right.
stop at that.
For their benefit, I really need to ask this one common question to all three of you before I close this session. Very briefly, Mr. Pant, starting with you, which sectors actually will create long-term stable jobs for young India, if you can tell the House, for next 10 years?
See, you have to look at where the growth is and where the need is. Now that's a very difficult thing to say, because things are changing very rapidly. But the fact remains that there is a growth in the area of urbanization, and the government has recognized that. In this particular budget also, the government is trying to bring together the growth sectors and the urban areas in a common developmental format. So I think that is something you should be looking at in terms of urban opportunities that are likely to come. That is one area which is going to grow. The second is going to be in terms of, let us say, your food processing.
Right.
As the population grows, there will be need for food, and it will not be easy to be able to transport. The logistics part of food is also going to become a challenge.
So you were saying
can look at-
urbanization and food processing, two
Yes.
big sectors to look out for
Yes.
next 10 years. Shri Chaudhuri, which sectors?
As I said, as I stated earlier, India has the potential to be the largest consumer
Right.
economy in the world. India is right now third or fourth because India has the largest population in any case. And as people go up the value chain, there will be increasing demand for these value-added products on every aspect, whether it's food, whether it's consumer durables,
Right.
consumer non-durables. So India is gradually going to move up on this value chain. So across in this entire value chain in consumer products, there could be huge opportunity. Other opportunity is, as I said, the facilitators. For example, making available these agricultural related data.
Right.
Agriculture is still going to be a large part of the economy. And today, as I said, India is not competitive globally. So any product, any app, any service can make our products competitive, the service economy. And then, of course,
Which makes the life
manufacturing,
easier, yeah. That's two things to look out for. According to you, Mr. Gupta, very briefly.
I think the first thing I will say is look at the green and sustainable sector. That is a massive opportunity. And I'll give you an example of the levels we'll reach. Today, if you look at China, they're adding 10 times the capacity we are adding every year. In fact, they're adding more capacity every year than what we have installed over the last 70 years. That is the level at which growth will happen. India will also get there. So there are massive jobs in the solar sector, in the wind energy space. In fact, you may even see, for example, as the demand for coal tapers down, a lot of coal miners will switch over to becoming solar technicians, etc. So look at that sector very seriously. Massive jobs there. The second sector I would say is technology, without doubt. All of you are very familiar, conversant with AI tools. It is changing our productivity dramatically. AI agents are being utilized in sector after sector, including large sectors like IT services. The stock market is, for example, is seeing a lot of volatility, and TCS stock, for example, over the last year or so is down 44% from its peak. So a new world is emerging, and I
Right.
think you are very well positioned to take leadership of that. So engage with AI tools, build on that, and build your own company basis that. Thank you.
Yes. On that note, the house is open.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you so much to all our panelists for carrying out such an insightful discussion. Can we all extend a huge round of applause for them? And now I would like to take the questions. So as I call out the names, I would request everyone to stand so that we can hand over the mic to you. For the first question, I would like Abhijit Kumar from Shri Venkateshwar College to please put the question forward. Kalpana is at the back.
Hello ma'am, hello sir, thank you for this opportunity. So my question is, with global supply chain shifting from China to countries like Vietnam and India, what is the single biggest factor that will decide whether India truly enters into global economic era? What is the comparative advantage that India can leverage?
This question is to whom?
And to whom do you want to answer this question?
I would like to get answer from Gupta sir.
All right.
I would say three things. Three big factors matter as supply chains shift. Number one, what I call territory, which is, can we quickly get the basics right? Land, electricity, water connections, roads, accessibility to various sites. So the territory has to be set in order, which is where states come into play significantly. Second is all the people in the room, that is talent. That distinguishes India from a lot of other countries. You have massive amount of very high-skilled people available. Lastly, I would say, which India has earned significantly over the last decade, is trust. Now, you have a lot of countries like Japan, Taiwan, US, Europe, who trust India implicitly, and they are open towards giving their technology to India. For example, again, the US Trade Minister commented a few days back that India can be way station for goods being exported to America. He agreed that America cannot produce everything, and whatever they need, a lot of that can come from India. He did not mention any other country, even Vietnam he did not mention. There are other countries like Vietnam which have their own problems. For example, a lot of Chinese goods come to Vietnam via their common border and then are re-exported to the world. So they are facing a lot of issues because of that. India doesn't have the same problem. India, a lot of exports are manufactured and created in India. So territory, talent and trust, these are the big three factors. Between the three, I would say definitely talent is the deciding factor.
Thank you, sir, for answering the question. For the next question, I would request Faiz Alam from Dayal Singh College to put the question forward.
First of all, thank you so much. So my question is, with AI, automation and digitalization, do you believe this technology will be able to create more opportunities than it displaces?
Who do you want to answer the question?
Anyone can answer.
You would like to take
All
that
right.
part?
Absolutely. I think there was a statement by one of the industry players that the future will belong to not to AI, but to those who know AI. So AI is actually an opportunity, and it is an opportunity to improve our processes, bring about efficiencies. So that is the opportunity first. It need not be seen as a kind of jobs will be a threat or something like that. So AI is an opportunity to bring about overall efficiencies. In fact, as a company, even without calling ourselves AI enabled, we have been doing many processes to bring about efficiencies. So overall intent to bring the costs of production down, bring about efficiencies. It could be through AI or through any other mode. But the important thing is that the processes need to improve.
But his question is if it will lead to more displacement, no new opportunities, it will be lesser job opportunities for human resource.
So I'll just give you an example. I come from the banking sector.
Yeah.
So in the 1990s, when there was computerization, so there was threat, there would be loss of jobs. But people transitions from typewriters to the keyboards. And instantly the keyboard from a typewriter is identical to that of a computer.
Right.
So I feel the jobs will transform, but for that you need to be prepared, you need to skill yourself, you need to equip yourself, you need to be aware of what is happening all around. I think AI will throw up more opportunities provided you embrace it, you train yourself for it, you skill it. But if you are not prepared for it, if you do not embrace it, then of course there could be loss. But you need to be prepared for it. My personal feeling is that AI will just open up more opportunities. At the end of it, in a country like India, there's so much opportunities for us to grow. So we should use AI as an opportunity for growth for us, rather than looking it as a threat. But we need to skill ourselves, appropriately for that.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering the question. Moving forward, for the next question, I would request Venavi Singh from National Forensic Sciences University to please put forward the question.
A very good afternoon to the entire dais, and thank you for this opportunity. My question is to Mr. Sunil, sir. So financial institutions play a very important role, and they act as a very important pillar in the economic era. Yet I have noticed that there are situations where banks accept document where the applicators who are applying for the loans, they show a larger income with their actual income is more than what they document. So that creates this disparity, and yet banks know about it, but they don't do anything about it. So is that in any way affecting this economic era of the Indian society?
Let me be clear. She's saying that people are distorting their income in the
Yes,
reporting.
yes.
Is that distorting the overall economic profile?
Is it, yeah.
Essentially,
Yes,
that's
yes,
what.
yes. Is it a disadvantage to the economy then? Like,
Yeah,
he,
I think we can vote. Okay. See, I don't think it distorts the economic profile, because ultimately each component, each person, each unit is part of the overall economy. It's a matter of, I would say, ethics. If somebody is misreporting something, but that does not mean that it damages the basic structure that is there. What I would definitely say is that at the time of evaluation, a bank would be looking at what is the income source and the income flow and the sustainability of that to be able to see whether there can be an exposure taken over an extended period of time. So if that is being sustained as per what the norms of the bank are, then I think the bank will go ahead and finance. If it is obviously incorrect, there is an obvious misstatement, obviously it will be turned down. So I think it's a question not so much of what is being reported as the capacity to take up that activity and to deliver on that as per the agreed terms. I don't know if I have answered your question, but that's what I could make out of it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Maybe Mr.
So I think it's a beautiful question, and technology has a response to this. So see, today in Bangalore, we find that even street vendors have a UPI. And with UPI means you have a bank account. Today, we have the Jandhan accounts. And this leaves a digital trail. From this digital trail, we can exactly map what is your inflows and outflows. So the days in which you can, you could, falsify your income, so those days are gone. If you are in UPI, or almost everyone has an UPI, we can easily, come at a rough estimate of what are your incomes and outflows are, inflows and outflows are, and from where we can easily estimate
So
your
the
income. And this is true in the individual space as well as for MSMEs.
Right.
And that's why in the beginning I had stated that the GST is not just an enabler or efficient payment of tax. It also makes you available credit because it leaves a digital footprint of what is your actual sales turnover. So there's no question of your inflating your sales. And that is so
That leads to
even
more
in the financial
transparency, you're
inclusion
saying.
space.
Yes.
It leaves a digital trail of what is what your incomes are.
Right.
So the possibilities of inflating your income are vastly reduced.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering the question. Although we've received a lot of questions, but we'll take the last question for the panel from Krishna Dara from Shri College of Commerce.
A very good afternoon to this esteemed panel and everyone present here. Thank you for this opportunity, and my question will revolve around the free trade agreements and MSMEs as mentioned a part of this discussion. So concerning the recent European Free Trade Agreement, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism or the CBAM, which is not in the purview of this agreement, will it create new opportunities for the Indian youth to upskill themselves or serve as an impediment for the small enterprises aiming to enter the European market? And I would direct this question to Mr. Anuj Gupta, sir. Thank you.
That's a very insightful question that shows that you have been following the trade outcomes very closely. Now, couple of things over here. Number one, CBAM, which is basically for the knowledge of everybody, is a carbon tax. So they look at how much carbon, say, a kg of steel emits in Europe, and they take it as a benchmark. And if you are using more carbon or emitting more CO2 than that, then they put a tax on you for every kg of steel you export to Europe. Number one, CBAM is part of the deal, it's part of the trade agreement, but it's not, the details of it are not finalized yet. It will be negotiated over the next few months and then become part of the deal. What they are proposing as of now is it is critical to look at how much carbon emission is happening in India and what are the ways to reduce it. There is another carbon tax in India called CCTS, which says that if you are producing green steel, for example, you get a certain tax concession in India. Now, the key thing over here is whatever efforts and money you are spending to create green steel or green products in India, it should be compensated in the carbon tax being imposed in Europe. What is being said right now, and of course it will be finalized very soon, is CCTS, the amount of taxes you pay on carbon in India will be set off against the carbon taxes you will pay in Europe. And accordingly, the Indian manufacturers and MSMEs will not be at a disadvantage. That is the state of negotiations. I think most likely it will go through. Thank you.
Those were some really insightful responses from the panelists, and I hope these answered all of your questions. So now I would like to extend this note of thanks to our moderator, Sikta Dio ma'am, and all our panelists for such an inspiring and grounded discussion. Can we all extend a huge round of applause for this panel discussion on the big shift, is India entering its global economic era? The insights shared really offered a clearer understanding of how budget reforms, global relationships, and entrepreneurship can come together to unlock India's next phase of economic growth with youth at its center. So now, it's time that we take a brief 10-minute transition break, and I would request our panelists to kindly join us off the stage. And for our audience, we request you to kindly remain seated. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I hope it was good.
Yeah, it was very good. I'll give you my card.
Sure,
so
sure.
that you have my
Yes.
contact details.
So you do come for TV debates, is
I
it?
come quite frequently.
Lately, yeah.
And
You are
but
there with the
basically
part
on
of
the economy panels.
you've been coming to NDTV?
NDTV also have come.
You have, okay, for
the
profit.
Rahul show, for example.
Okay.
But I've been to